All right, welcome back to the shop. So I've got a M1161 here. It's ITV number 33. The owner sent it to me just to go through it and fix all the mechanical stuff on there, just to make sure it runs good. He had some issues with it. I got everything squared away. The only thing we don't have going on it is CTIS because we don't have regulators. So the rest of the system's there. If you can ever get a hold of some regulators, then that'd be cool. You can put them in pretty easily. But anyways, here, let's go over what we did to it. I've got everything written down on a list just so I don't forget and skip over anything good, because I do like to do these for kind of historical documentation. That's why I have so many on what I do on these growlers, because I want you guys to be able to look back 10 years. If somebody buys this thing, he can search it out and find this video, see what it looked like right after it came from the government, and see what we had to do to it and see what kind of shape it was in. So it was dropped off real late at night. The drivers just kind of showed up, dropped it off, and so I went out the next morning to start it. I went to check the batteries. The batteries were dead, so we were jumping it, but then it still wouldn't start. There was just no actuation to the starter. So we checked back here. First thing I did, I lowered this panel down back here, and one of the wires going to the starter switch, or to the starter switch, the original one, the one going to the relay to start the starter, it was just a bad connection. Popped it in there and it started up. But then we had no steering. We had no hydraulic oil. The tank was empty. So I went and got some oil. We started pouring oil into it, and it was just pouring right out on the ground. So I traced it down to being underneath this cover here. There's two steel hydraulic tubes that come all the way from the front of the dash up here, just in front of the shifters. They go to a bulkhead fitting, and then they run along here. They go to another bulkhead fitting here, and then they go to hoses, which goes to the pressure relief valve and to the rear steering. Those hoses had some salt water gotten in here, and it just rotted those tubes out. I'll slip a picture here in the video so you can see it. They were just rotten. So I cut those. I had to cut them up to get them out. They're it'd be real hard to just replace them with steel tubes. So I just went down to the cat dealer, and Steve made me up a couple of hydraulic hoses for them. They're like 3,500 psi or 5,000 psi hydraulic hoses. I ran those in there and got that sealed up. So that I can put some oil in it and get it over to, get it over here to the shop and start working on it. So we did that, and then this thing was such a mess with oil. It had oil everywhere underneath. So I did post a video a little while ago of me steam cleaning this, hoisting it up with my hoisting my service truck, and cleaned it all up. And then I noticed that the steering servo was leaking really bad. It was just making a mess down here. Here's the old steering servo right here. It's leaking out of both ends. So fortunately we had a used one here, and I was able to change that out. Now it's dry, there's no leaks underneath here. Okay, now let's go just to the regular part of the video here. So I changed the hood strut. I did engine oil change, including engine oil filter, fuel filter, hydraulic filter. We changed the transfer case oil, changed the differential oils. Those we automatically do now just because we found water in some of them. So we've got those cleaned out. Checked the training fluid. Training fluid looked good. Didn't have any moisture. The level was right. It smelled good, so I leave it. I don't like changing the filters and the oil in a transmission that's already been running, because they always seem to have problems after that. So I'm leaving that. That's up to the owner. If he wants to have it serviced out when he gets it home, that's fine. But I recommend against it. Okay, then I went to test the fan. And what you do to test the fan on these things, you could either just start it and let it warm up and wait for it to kick on. But one way just to check the electrical and the fan motor itself real quick. This is the sensor for it. Just get a jumper wire, clip it on here, and just ground it out onto the engine or on the chassis or something, and you hear the relay click and the fan will come on. That's one way to real quickly check to make sure that the fan works and everything. So when I did that, the relay was clicked about 4 times, and then it just quit clicking. It's like, crap, great, something's wrong, and the fan never did turn on. So I went down here to, if you drop this panel here, there's a whole bunch of relays in here. Relays for, everything up in the front half here. And that relay, somebody had cut the wires on it, because obviously the relay went bad, because when I was testing it, it clicked about 4 times then stopped, and it wouldn't click anymore. But somebody cut the wires off the back of the relay, and they drilled a hole right here, and they mounted a toggle switch. In fact, you can see, like, they drilled a hole here, and then didn't realize the door was in the way, so they drilled a new hole, mounted a toggle switch for the fan. So I took all that junk out. I put a new relay in. It's a 24 volt 40 amp relay. Had to put a new pigtail on it because they cut the wires so short on it. And they didn't even cut the signal wires. They just cut the 2 wires that go to the fan. The power wire and the wire going to the fan. So I fixed that. We got that working good. Just come around here again. We put a keyed ignition switch in. Got rid of the radio mounts here, the comm mounts, and made a flat plate for it, so we could put a cup holder, console, whatever. That we won't be hurting his elbows on that radio mount. Come over here, added an air tank drain to the front air tank. Now look underneath here. The pans were just beat the crap. The front one was good. The front ones usually are good. Sometimes they're bent a little bit, but the center one is one that's always just hammered. And it was bent real bad. The rear one was bent really bad. And you gotta excuse me, my dog's licking my camera. Scrappy dude, would you stop that? So anyways, we checked the front drive line and it was good. The U-joints are great. It was straight. The rear one was really bad. You could see the marks from with the forklift that just lifted up on this thing. Just trashed that drive shaft. So I had the drive shaft rebuilt, new U-joints, straighten the pans out, put the pans back on, and then coming around here, put a new mirror on it. The brackets were broken, the mirror was all busted up. This one and the Growler before it, I actually painted them. In the past, I haven't been painting these. I just popped the rubber out and the glass out and painted them with the 383. I didn't paint the brackets. I probably should have, but it's going to need some touch-up anyway, so the owner can do that if he wants them painted. So it's got a new mirror on it. And then also coming down here into the footwell, for the dimmer switch, this one already had a lot of rod in it. They had an update. The military or General Dynamics over had an update for these. They were supposed to come through and cut part of this out in the front so that this can drain out, because you get rain in here, you get water in here, and there's nowhere for it to go. So this one actually had a drain hole in the bottom, which was rare. They do need that drain hole, but they also had, it was already rusted out in here. So I just drilled 2 holes in here, about 1/2 inch diameter holes, and I took this off and I scraped all the rust and dug all the crud out of there, kind of vacuumed it out. So that's an update that every one of these should be done. You guys should update that if yours hasn't been updated already. All right, the back compartment here by the fuel tanks, everything looked really good. This one's cool. It's actually got this rear bar. You can tell which ones came from Georgia because the Georgia auction, because they cut the lugs off the top of these bars, off the C pillar and the D pillar. But they left the D pillar on this one, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna get some measurements on it so I can get some of those made if I want to. Anyways, we'll put that back down. Let's lift the lid back up. So it had newer Napa batteries in there. The owner must have put new batteries in it, tried to get it going, but they were already bad, just from sitting, I guess. And so I got them warranted, prorated it. So I got those changed out. Had to change this negative clamp on here. It was really bad. It was broken. So I put a new clamp on there, put a battery disconnect switch on here. These things, if you let them sit for a week or two, they'll drain the batteries down. And I think it's from this unit here, this battery equalizer. I think that's what does it. I think it's drawing power. But anyway, so we put a disconnect switch on almost every one that comes through here now. So that's hooked up. Put an air filter on the air compressor because it was just rotted out just in pieces. Changed the front check valve for the front suspension. For the line coming off the air compressor that goes to the air dryers, they have a check valve in here. I don't know if the camera will pick it up in there if it's too dark. It's got this heater thing over it, so you kind of can't see it. To heat it up when it's cold out. There's a switch on the dash when it's below 20 degrees or whatever. You flip it on and it heats things up. It'll heat up that one-way check valve so it doesn't freeze up. It'll, I think it turns on the heaters for the dryers. It'll heat up the intake, stuff like that. So anyways, that's what's on top of that. So we had to change that one-way check valve because it was leaking back. That's what I do when it comes in the shop. I test the compressor and stuff, make sure it's working. But then while I'm working on it, I just unhook the air line here coming from it. I put a T in here with a valve and I go to shop air. So I can just air it up with the shop air and I could spend my time troubleshooting without hearing a compressor running. And so anyways, when I'm filling up air here and everything's off, I could hear air coming out of the compressor. It's like leaking back through. That's because that check valve's bad. So it's a 1/2 inch brass check valve. So I replaced that. Replaced a bunch of air hose in here and some fittings and stuff that were leaking. Had a lot of little leaks. It just annoying. They just, every time you went to use it, you had to put air in it. It wouldn't hold air for an hour, So we got all that stuff taken care of. So I think that's kind of it in the back here. I come around here to the back suspension, the rear suspension. I did all 4 CV joints on this one, or CV boots. They were rotted out really bad. On this side here, on the driver's side of rear, I had to do the lower ball joint and the upper ball joint. Usually I can get away with just putting boots on, but these ones are really bad looking, so I ended up changing the joints all together. I changed the upper joint on this side. I kept the original Moog one on the bottom. It's still in good shape. One other thing, with the rear steering, when it came in, it didn't have the rear steer unit. It was missing. Over there at the Georgia auction, they were just removing them, capping the lines, and that was it. So we were able to get a used unit, bolted it in there, got it set pretty good. You might want to get it to a shop and have the alignment set just to make sure it's where it should be, but I got it pretty close. And also on all 4 struts, I purged the nitrogen out. I'll refill and purge it about 4 or 5 times just to make sure there's no air or moisture trapped in it. We've actually seen moisture come out of these. Like somebody had filled them up with air compressor air and got moisture in them, and that's not good. I've seen some with no nitrogen at all, which is not good because nitrogen's dry. It doesn't hold moisture. So if it has just static atmospheric air in there, you're gonna have moisture and it's gonna rust up. So I purge them about 4 or 5 times and then top them off, set the pressure right with a dry nitrogen. So these things, they'll be good for a while. Okay, and then coming around to the back, I put a cable pull air tank drain. They have the one here. Shut off. It has a drain on there, but it's really hard to reach up in there, and it's always so tight. We get a pair of pliers on them, and usually we can't even open them up. I end up destroying them just to get them out. They're kind of a crappy valve they put in there. It might not be a crappy valve, but it hasn't been opened in 12 years, so it doesn't want to open. So anyways, we put that cable pull on there so the owner can just come up, just drain off any moisture that might collect in there. Coming around this side, everything looked pretty good. Compartment in here was good. Everything was good. This seal here on this windshield, where the windshield folds down, it was just tattered. It was just tearing apart. So I put a new seal on that. It's like a trim piece with a bubble, like a bubble seal on it. It's a bulb seal. I don't know what they call it. Put new wiper blades. Something we do to every one of these. Everything on here in the engine looked good. Tranny fluid was good. I tested, we pull this off and we checked the wastegate valve actuator to make sure it's not frozen. That was all good. I forgot to clean the air filter. If I get time before they pick it up, I'll have to pull that out. These ones with the older original style air filter, they're K&N, so you wash them with the K&N soap, dry them real good, and then oil them up. Okay, and then we come down here to the front suspension. The front suspension was in really good shape, except for the upper ball joints. I changed both upper ball joints on the front. The lowers were good. The CV boots were new. It's got the updated axle shafts. They're thicker and they're longer, so we don't have the same problem with them popping out of the inner cup. So obviously when they put new shafts in there, they must have put, they put new boots on at the same time. So I didn't have to do boots. The airbags were good. I didn't have to do those. Everything else was really nice and tight on the front end. You can see this side here, I changed the upper ball joint. It's still a good original Moog ball joint on the bottom. CV boots are good. All right, so that's it on ITV-33. She's a pretty good truck. She was in pretty good shape. Had a little bit of rust on it, but nothing really bad. No structural rust, nothing like that. Just, it saw some salt water somewhere, but she's in really good shape now. Everything's working. It should run good for the owner. And so this one's done. This one's ready to go. And I thank you guys for watching. And please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button and share this video with a friend. If you share it with a friend, it helps a lot with YouTube, so I can get more people to watch. And anyways, thanks for watching and have a good day.